Hey, super friends, my name is Neil, and welcome to this very special edition of the Get Your Comic Con podcast. I'm joined today by writer Nick Goode and artist Harry Hughes to talk about a brand new Kickstarter project called The Red Wave. The pair have worked together on a number of projects previously, including Snow the Dawn, The Eventide, and most recently Odyssey for Black Spot Comics. For The Red Wave, the pair are joined by letterer Pat Russo, who you may know from his work on Sweet Tooth, Future State Immortal Wonder Woman, and Evolution. So without further ado, it's over to Nick and Harry to tell us all about The Red Wave.
You go first.
I am Harry Hughes, illustrator of The Red Wave.
I'm Nick Goode, and I wrote The Red Wave. That's a really weird saying. It's taken. I'm so used to saying like Snow the Dawn or whatever, but
Not this
all
time.
about The Red Wave now.
Not this time.
No.
So let's start at the very beginning. What is The Red Wave?
So The Red Wave is it's the best way to describe it. Besides the way that we've pitched it currently, which has a great word in it. So at the moment, we've described it as a bodacious Ronin adventure story.
That you deserve so many points just for using the word bodacious in a pitch.
I told you we should have used it.
Yeah. We looked long and hard for that. And
wasn't it bombastic?
Bombastic was there for a while, and then we found bodacious, and we were like, "That's so much better."
Yeah, bodacious.
That describes it to a T.
Either way, we played with bodacious and bombastic. So
Both very good.
You know,
words.
we're not messing about. Basically, we're on it.
Big guns from the off.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's a 4-part miniseries that we're hoping to see through to the end and make. We're pretty invested in it, I think.
I'd say so. Yeah. Did we explain what it was? Did we say samurai story? You did say that part.
Bodacious Ronin
Okay,
adventure.
good.
Yeah.
So it's
all in that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bodacious is all you need to know. That's all it is.
How did the idea for it come about? Where did this start from?
So it was 2 places, if I remember correctly. Harry and I both love samurai and like Edo period Japan, and it's just always been something that we're kind of visually saying looks awesome. And the second side of it came from when I was doing my degree. Actually, I knew I wanted to write something samurai because Harry and I had literally been speaking about it, I think the week that I was having to make a decision as to what my dissertation would be, basically. And then I started doing research on samurai and kind of their principles and honors and all this kind of stuff. And I just stumbled on information that I was like, oh, there is so much myth and so much kind of hearsay stories about people. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And then I landed on a story about swordsmiths and how swordsmiths in kind of Ronin and samurai kind of Edo period Japan were effectively deemed holy men. So they always dressed in white, and there was this sense that when you get a sword crafted, there's like a heart to it, that there is a character to every sword. It's like something that's like beaten into the steel. And that stuck with me for ages. And I just thought, oh, it'd be really cool to tell a story about a sword. And then I sort of landed on this story about these 2 swordsmiths who are called Muramasa and Masamune. And the 2 of them are sort of opposite ends, in that one sort of crafts swords that were deemed to be like the most beautiful and kind of like most honor bound swords, and the other sort of crafted weapons for death, like for killing. And I just thought that's the makings of the start of a story. And then from there, it just sort of unraveled into sort of what you get, which is bodacious. But it's also just this kind of journey of 2 brothers and how they're intertwined with this fate of 2 blades which have been lost to history. And also the fact that I'm a massive history nerd. Like, the research section for Red Wave was amazing. Like, I was so glad that I could say I was researching for a dissertation, when in reality I was just literally just engulfed in anything. I was watching tons of Kurosawa. I was reading loads of Lone Wolf and Cub. I read Ronin by Frank Miller. I just went through loads of things. And at the same time, I sort of went through a period of watching basically everything Tarantino. I don't know why. I was
that's a massive part.
Yeah, I think as I was sort of getting into the story of it, I just went on a Tarantino binge. And
Interesting.
We'd watched Hateful Eight.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was it. I think I watched Hateful Eight and I was like, oh, I'd love to write something that's like about a group of people. And it all just sort of barreled into what is the Red Wave. So there's like a lot of care and attention, I think, to the way the characters are talking.
It's 100% a character-driven piece.
Yeah,
Hugely character-driven.
It's definitely something that, you know, in terms of, I think our work anyway, it's a complete gear shift, just in terms of what we've been focusing on, and like it's very much less about the world and more about these people. And
I think it's fair to say everything else we've done has been fairly like compact as a project. So there's not anything quite as epic, I suppose, in scope as the Red Wave. The Red Wave is very much I mean, I'm not going to say it's Lord of the Rings because that's a huge stuff, but it's like our Lord of the Rings comparatively, right?
Yeah,
said it now. It's out there.
Things. Yeah, it's better than Lord of the Rings.
It's not like 900 pages long, I promise.
It's 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you kind of touched on my next question, so I will adjust my wording slightly. But I've read a lot of your work at this point, and it is fair to say that you spent a lot of time doing contemporary stories or dystopian future stories, and you just said there you're a huge history nerd. So tell me a bit about writing a story that's not future-based or contemporary-based. Is there a different approach in how you construct that kind of story when you've got so much history that's attached to it? What's that like?
The truth is, it was really easy because it's historical, so he just copy and pasted.
Just copied it all.
That's it. Yeah.
Or if you want to lean into my kind of like more sci-fi side, I time traveled. Just on the low key, I've invented time travel. It works. I used it purely to write a story because that's the best use, apparently.
Obviously.
I think it's definitely different in terms of I don't think I've ever sat and kind of rewrote a script as often as I have with the Red Wave.
There's been a lot of rewrites. Yeah. Of rewrites.
Like it's existed, I think, since probably the end of 2016.
Wow.
So it's been around for a long time. And like in those early days, it was also a very different story. Like I think the core was kind of there, but the presentation of it was very different. It sort of leaned more into this like big epic battle thing, and leaned a little bit more into the kind of mystical sense.
Okay.
Whereas I think now what we've gone for is, I always quite like to describe it as, I want to tell a story that somebody at some point could retell as a tale. Like I'd love it to be the point where it's kind of like, have you heard the tale of Mizuki and Hikaru and that kind of thing? I'd love it to be something like that, because I feel like that's the kind of angle I was going for, is I wanted it to feel very much like a Ronin tale, and that there's a bit of truth in the kind of history. I think that's kind of my thing.
I think it's fair to say you've looked at historical elements and abstracted them to make something that's kind of not as wooden as the truth, and it's a bit more fluid, so it's a bit more fantastical at the end. So the end result is sort of something it's believable, but it's also fantasy, right?
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. It was also just a case of because I think I was working around those influences, like I said, where it was like a lot of classic samurai stuff, whether it was Kurosawa or like I even like read through a little bit of Shogun. That book is enormous. And
how big?
It's huge. It's like, I don't know, possibly as big as It, which is a big read.
Yeah.
I think, anyway, I could be really wrong.
Graphic novel?
No,
okay.
It's a book.
Right.
And I can't remember if it's a collection.
It's a huge graphic novel.
Yeah, but
big.
Yeah, but it was big, and that was very kind of traditional Japanese. And I think, as much as I love that kind of thing, I did definitely want to lean more into the fantasy side of it. considering we were talking about kind of mystical blades.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the kind of research and the informing of the writing was kind of seeing, well, what can I take that is historically true, blend it with fantasy, and then give it a kind of semi-modern twist. And so like a lot of the dialogue, I think this is where the Tarantino thing came from. Is a lot of the dialogue could feel like it's just modern day.
Yeah, I get that.
I was kind of very set on, I wanted it to be kind of pulpy in the way that it is read, rather than trying to go full authentic to that time. I wanted to kind of encapsulate my own little...
We did discuss originally about having it in Japanese. Doing a version of it in Japanese.
Which would have been gnarly.
And I don't know who would have approached to do that.
Yeah.
But we said initially, just because it's got such a pulpy attitude, although it would look cool being in Japanese, I don't think it would read right. It would almost be like, it'd be very formal. Yeah, it'd be like we've transcribed, converted it, whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be like we put it in the wrong language almost.
Yeah.
It'd be like accurate but wrong.
Yeah. So a lot of it was kind of that, but I was definitely really aware. I think a lot of the rewriting came from the sense that even though I wanted this sort of modern twist, I still wanted like authenticity to it. I still wanted it to feel not out of place, and not I didn't want it to kind of read like a fan. That was my biggest worry with it, was that I think because it's Japanese history, I didn't want it to read like somebody who's gone, oh, well, they've clearly just watched Seven Samurai and then just rewritten something.
You made a lot of changes actually as you went along, because we changed all the character names have changed from their initial ones, because I think the first set of names we chose were cool, weren't they? But that was it. They were sort of like, you probably heard those names if you've watched like The Last Samurai or anything like that. So you do a bit of research onto more. Yeah,
it was kind of taking it away from it reading like. I think it was going from the idea of it being like, this is really cool, to more being like, there's a story to tell here. And
that makes sense.
Sort of like what feels correct to these characters and to the world, rather than a sense of just serving the purpose of coolness.
I think as well, because it's really pulpy, you don't want to lean too hard into it being, although it's bombastic or bodacious, you don't want it to we didn't want to lean too hard onto it, just into it being cool as well, because it would just be nuts. Like, and we didn't really want crazy. We wanted it to be like, I don't know, serious isn't the word, but taken seriously.
Yeah,
kind of, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just being like a romp.
Yeah, definitely.
You've managed to get bodacious, bombastic, and gnarly into this so far, which are three of my favourite words.
Oh, yes.
When did you say gnarly? I completely missed that.
It's good. It's a strong word.
Right, I'm coming over to you now, Harry. So tell me what the process was like for building the visual world for the Red Wave.
Okay, right. Well, thus far, I mean, I'm not a lot of the way into that, considering it's basically been pitched, essentially. So I've only done the initial 6 pages in the cover, but boy, have I done some Googling.
Yeah, I was going to say, these are pretty impressive pages. Like, as I've got it open on my other screen in front of me. You don't undersell it. This is really cool.
I think it's fair to say it's definitely my favourite comic work I've done. And the pages you have now are kind of not old, but they're not my newest work. So it's good to be able to look at those and still appreciate. I think the problem with being an artist is I'm quite quick to brush things off. So I can finish something 1 second, I'll enjoy it, but then I'm quite happy to just scrape it and send it away. So the Red Wave is definitely something I look back at now, and although it's been around for a while, not publicly, but I've had it for so long. I'm still happy with the work that I've made, so that's testament to how it looks, I guess.
I think as well, you've had so much attention to detail with it, just from reference work, like having been around since 2016. I just remember countless times that Harry and I would go to the cinema, and Harry would say, "Oh, I found this picture of this," or "I found this picture of this." And I think I remember one time where we were coming back from the cinema, and you were like, "I've got a folder on my phone that's just full samurai art and like references and stuff.
I ended up compiling so much reference imagery. I had to transfer it all over to my iPad because I didn't have enough storage on my phone. So I've got a folder on my iPad. I found there's so much good material. Thank God for Google. But you can literally Google Edo period Japan, whatever, and there's reams of it. It's really, really well documented, which is amazing for something so old.
Yeah.
But because the armor and everything about Japan is so loved, it is really well documented. So I've been fortunate with the reference material to be able to basically pick and choose quite easily. There's not a lot out there I haven't been able to find out. So I've gone really deep into it though. So because I want it to be authentic as much as Nick wants the story to be authentic. I want it to be visually authentic. So I've taken a lot of time looking at like samurai armor, right? So like all the different layers. So I actually know how it's correctly worn now, which is quite fun.
Wow.
So I know, and like all the words and names, like because you can literally find all the diagrams of things. And one of the best references for it was actually the props department for The Last Samurai, because all the costumes they're not original samurai armor, but they're made as damn close as you can. And there are so many pictures of all the different layers because it's like there's like underdress and then there's like parts that go over and then everything wraps around. It's all like all the different like the words, it's not ropes, but it's all basically connected by different ropes that go onto different sections of the plate and stuff. And like that, I've enjoyed like the intricacy of that massively. But luckily, I think it's a bit flexible in that the story is essentially fantasy. So as much as I want things to look authentic, I can sort of I can bastardize it a little bit. So I'm able to
creative freedom in there.
Exactly. I'm able to put like a bit of me on top. So there's been like decisions I've made visually where it's like, I don't know, I've got no reference to be sure that anyone wore a scarf, right? For example, but it looks damn cool. And there's nothing to say you don't have those materials in the time. Yeah. So as long as it looks correct and it's not like, got tartan on it, I can put that in there. So it's sort of like, it's not too restrictive as far as everything I've had to pump out. But the research it's not been too challenging, but mostly because there's so much material out there. But yeah, I think creating the world has just been a case of just looking, which is nice because, like I say, I enjoy reading, but I don't do enough of it. But because my work is visual, I can literally just look through pictures. I'm like a kid with a coloring book, so I just scroll and find things I like, and I save them and look at related images. Just find bits from films, like video games are a really good reference point. So for seeing things in motion, so I could look at scenes from like The Last Samurai, and you can see how like fabrics and things flow, and you can pause for like posture references, or video games as well, like Ghost of Tsushima or For Honor. Yeah. They're really hot on like the detail of the environment and the armor and things. So I've been lucky that I can sort of grab material from anywhere. It's very readily available. So it's not been so much difficult deciding what I put into the world. It's more just rendering it.
Yeah.
Because as much as like the details all there, it's a lot of work to copy it basically, or like it's pasted in. So yeah, it's been more of a task putting it down than it has been to find it, I guess.
I can well believe it. I have my copy open on page 4, which is kind of the armored up sequence, shall we say. It's the panel that's got flashback to a fight scene with the swords and everyone in their armor. So I was going to ask you, kind of, how long did it take to draw something like that? How long did creating that page take?
I did that in like several stages, mostly because there's the inset panels, which are my style, and then I've tried to emulate old Japanese art with the rest of the page. So it's almost, initially it was going to be a giant battle page. So it would just be a shot of the battle. I was going to go very like Renaissance art kind of shot. So, and it was all going to be my style of drawing. And I discussed this with Nick, and I was like, that was what I was going to go for. And we were like, sweet, great. And then I can't remember what it was that made me swap my angle on it. Do you remember? I saw something. was like an animated. Was it like Kubo or something
Yeah,
like
it might
that?
have been Kubo.
There was some animated feature, but you know how it might have been similar to, so Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows, if you've seen those ones. I'm not mad for Harry Potter films, but there's a sequence where it shows you the tale of Beedle and Bard with the wand.
Oh yeah.
And it's all done like silhouette work, so it just like completely changes the tone. And I was like, oh, it'd be great. It wasn't that necessarily, but things like that have definitely inspired it. And I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to do, rather than just do a still image flashback of the character's memory of the battle. Why not remove it and have it as like a nod to traditional Japanese art? So it's basically a montage of what the character's narrating in the top panels. So when I was mapping it out, I basically did there's 3 panels in set, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there's a top image, there's a central sort of stylized inset of one of the characters, and then there's the panel at the bottom, and then the dialogue that goes along with it corresponds to the art as you sort of read down the page. So putting the characters in, I did all that first, and that was pretty straightforward. But the actual inking and everything for the rest of the image, it's definitely took the longest out of all the pages. I couldn't tell you without having the iPad to hand, because I'd be able to look at the time it took me to color it. But that was definitely an intense page. It was long. I sort of, because obviously you've got to pencil everything, then ink everything, then color everything. It was a lot of work, but I was so keen on making things authentic. I drew everything out beforehand a whole bunch of times. Ordinarily, I'm quite happy to do some like loose preliminary sketches, and then I'll just jump straight in. Whereas this one, I think I did like tight preliminary sketches for everything. It was like I'd probably drawn that page 2 or 3 times to get it right before. Not at the same scale. There were, like thumbnail sketches of the different components, and then I put it all together. And I sort of divided it with there's lightning on the panels, which sort of divides a lot of the shots. And it trains your eye from the blade at the start of the image, sort of all the way down to the bottom where it's being lost. So yeah, there was a lot of work went into it, but I couldn't tell you the time. But many days. Yeah. It was a slog.
It's a beautiful.
It paid off. Thank you. Yeah, it worked really well. And I think with the colours, I went for a lot of brush tools that were like Japanese water brushes, so like koi water brushes. Koi brush? Am I my brain? I think I might have just completely made something up then. So I don't know what that was. But I was basically looking at like relevant brush tools for it. So where there's the flames at the top of the page and things like that, you can sort of see the texture as if it's Japanese watercolor essentially. So there was a lot of time went into it, but I couldn't tell you an exact count.
So you've got letters from Pat Brusso, who is somewhat of a lettering legend. How did that collaboration come about?
So that was basically Harry and I in the past have done all our own lettering. Yeah. So for All of Snow and Odyssey and stuff, we did all that ourselves. And for the Red Wave, we both early on the project basically said we sort of felt like we wanted the lettering to have a bit of a character to it, because I feel like this project especially is just something that sort of needs kind of like a creator's stamp on it. And so Harry's kind of got his stamp on the art, I've kind of got my stamp on the story, and the lettering was something that I think just reading through tons of comic books, it really does make a difference when you work with a letterer.
Yeah.
In terms of just how they position it on the page and the way that it all flows. And like Harry said with his art, where it's sort of like guiding you around a page, I feel like a letterer sort of really knows how to do it. And so when it came to us finishing off these pages and then looking for who we could work with, Pat, we just I follow him on Twitter, and I think I saw him just put out a tweet that just said he had an opening, and I emailed and just said, look, this is the book that we're working on, these are the pages we've got so far, this is the story, would you be interested? And it was just amazing to say yes. And
it was very complimentary. It was like, whoa, okay.
And worked super quick and came out with an amazing job as well. Like it came out.
I swear it took about 10 minutes.
Yeah, like we probably would have spent about 4 months being like,
because we were always sort of happy with our lettering got a lot better.
Yeah,
like
gotcha.
our first lettering is shameful.
Yeah.
But as it continued, it was perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
But it wasn't special. We didn't think, and that's not knocking any of our previous work, because like the most recent thing we did before this, I guess, would be Odyssey. And the lettering holds out.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not got a name to it. If you know what I mean. It's not like a signature style or anything. Yeah. We've just done what looks right. So yeah, we definitely picked Pat because we wanted a name that could put their own signature to the letter, and do something appropriate, I guess, which we might not have thought of. Or
definitely, I think that was it, and I think his style just adds something to it that just makes it look very interesting and of the time, and it just looks awesome. So yeah, we were just super lucky basically that he had a free slot and he did it, and it was just awesome. It was really, really good. So.
And terrifyingly fast. That was the most upsetting part. Because we were genuinely some of the pages, because amateurs is what we are.
Yes.
We'd have like a page with loads of crazy sound effects and things on. We could warp. We got pretty handy using the tools, but what we thought was handy, we thought we were really good.
Yeah.
It turns out we're not really good, because Pat did what we did in about 6 days in about 16 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's like we sent over the pages like, we're expected to hear back from in a month.
Yeah.
And it's like half an hour later, it's like email from Pat.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, that was quick.
Yeah. It was definitely a kind of like, oh, that's how a pro does it.
Yeah. Just put us off lettering.
Yeah.
It's like, stand by. This is not. We're so out of our depth.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you're launching this on Kickstarter.
Yes.
What can readers expect from the campaign?
A variety of things.
Good. Good start.
Yeah. So we're going to have you'll be able to get the digital copy. So that'll be the first issue, just as a digital PDF that we'll send out to you at the end of the campaign, or at the end of the process of making it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Harry, you've got 4 weeks.
Okay, this is going to launch.
I was going to say that deadline just got really, really quick.
Yeah, did you see the sweat? Pure panic.
Yeah, so at the end of the project, you'll get emailed that. We've got the printed book, so you'll be able to get a copy of the printed book, which will come with a bookmark. So all printed copies come with a bookmark. And along with that, you'll also get the digital PDF as well. And
it's basically then tiers with bonuses beyond that, I guess.
So effectively there will be six. That's correct, isn't it? Or is it 7?
Technically 7.
Technically 7, yes. So there will be 7 art prints available of characters.
Character art, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 7th has a slight asterisk in that you could only get the character for the first weekend. So across the bank holiday, if you pledge to our project, you will be able to get this character, but past the Monday, he will not be available at all. So you've got the weekend to get it.
The only one available will be in my bedroom. So if you can get to me, you might be able to knock yourself a one-off.
And then, the rest is all kind of our 6 main characters. So you can get those as like pretty much an A5 print. It's 6x9 color. And you can either get 1 or, if you want to buy 2, you can buy 2 characters. But
you can add them on. So if you wanted 1 tier and there was 2 of them you like, you can add whichever 2. You can pick and choose. But then there's later tiers where you can have
there's a bundle for all 6. So if you want all 6, you can buy that. And then probably our funnest tier. Funnest. The words have gone down. I've used Predacious and Gnarly, and now it's just gone to funnest.
The most radical one?
Radical, yes. That's it. Is that you can have yourself drawn as a samurai. So, yes. So there's only, did we say?
I don't know.
I think we said there's only 2 tiers. So we basically decided, because we didn't want to make it so that everyone could do that. It had to just be special. So
wait, 2 slots available?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. So there's 2 slots available in which you can become a samurai.
So in that tier, you'll get the printed comic, you'll get the digital download, you get a little bookmark, you'll get all of the character prints.
Yes.
If you get it on the weekend at the beginning of the campaign, you'll get the extra print. Exactly. Yes. And then you can also be a samurai.
Yes.
Which, I mean, you can't. You're not a samurai.
Yeah.
That's a lie. But you could look like
Harry will illustrate as well.
Yeah, I will put your face and your body into samurai armor. Yes. Or any Edo period attire of your choosing. It doesn't even have to be a samurai. You could be a farmer.
Yeah, that'd be
For
cool.
all I care, I'll do it.
I would love it.
You could be nude.
If somebody out there does request to be like a rice farmer, that would just be awesome. Like if you've got the opportunity to be a samurai or ronin and you go, no, man of the people, I'm going to be...
I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, so there's 2 slots to get those basically. So jump on them.
We try to keep it kind of not basic, but like grounded. We didn't want to go too wild on things, so we thought, you know what, there's prints, there's it's all about the comic and the story. So the comic's the readily available thing. The prints are nice little extras, and then if you're absolutely nuts for it, sure, I'll sketch you up.
Yeah, if you're a retailer as well, we do have retailer incentives.
Of course, yeah.
So if you go on our page, you'll see those. And provided the campaign goes well and we get to make this book that we're incredibly in love with at this point, along the campaign, along the kind of project, we'll be posting regular updates. So you'll see tons of our sort of behind the scenes stuff, and we'll keep everybody updated with how it's going and what it's looking like, basically. So
we have stretch goals in mind, which we can't discuss.
Yeah,
it'd be silly to discuss now, purely because we have to hit the target to do it, and I don't want to make promises, but we've had some pretty radical ideas, which would be awesome. But I'm not saying this just because I want the project to happen, because I do want the project to happen, but I would love for the project to reach the target purely because of this. The one of the stretch goals I came up with, and it's genius.
It is.
It's pure genius.
Yes. It's
so. If that's not incentive to pledge, I can't even tell you. Well,
if people are intrigued by what it is, support our campaign, and then we'll reveal.
Imagine this is all a lie. There isn't anything. No, but there is.
There is.
There is something.
We've got plans.
Mm-hmm. We've got good plans. Well, I can tell you one of them, because it's definitely not going to happen. We were going to do a cool foil cover with like shiny stuff on.
Nice.
Decided not to. So don't get excited about that, because it's not happening. But there is something that is happening that is well worth getting excited about, which I cannot tell you what it is. So breathe that in.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you can tell us about where the story might go in the future?
Ooh. How best to do this? I'm so used to, because I've been living with this for so long,
I bet,
and only really talking to Harry about it, I'm so used to just spoiling everything.
I'm sick of it.
But I think as it goes
your
on,
MCU moment, don't spoil it.
Yeah. Tom Holland. As it goes on, I think the sort of mystical element might become more prominent.
It's very, very restrained.
I know, right?
I thought you'd go more than that.
I mean, I'm trying. The problem is I'm so used to saying.
I'm saying nothing because I will ruin.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
If I nudge, it's going to be like bam, spoiler.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to just go like thematically where it's going, but yeah, mystical element is a possibility. Brotherhood, challenging, honor. I'm just giving you words now. It's effectively like there is a journey, and I think when people read the first issue, the end of the first issue is the big setup. Something happens at the end of the first issue, and it sort of sets up everything. I think
it's really hard trying to sell what happens without ruining what happens.
I can tell you though that the final few pages of issue 1 are some of my favorite pieces of writing that I think I've done, and I don't say that lightheartedly either. I generally think my writing is disgraceful.
Shocking.
But this project, I'm the complete other way around. I'm really invested in where this story goes, which is why I'm trying so hard not to say where it goes, because
That's fair.
I absolutely love it and I want people to kind of experience that. But definitely there's a lot of dialogue towards the last couple of pages that I think is just, it's just really, every time I read it, I'm like, oh, what's next? And I rarely ever do that with my work, that I want to read what's next. This is something else. I can happily read at any time.
Visually, you can. That's the thing. You can expect visuals to get crazy because the visuals will get crazy.
Yes.
I'm going to be chained to my desk, sweating with the amount. If you thought that page in the first
Wow.
6 pages was nuts, think again.
Yeah.
Because there's some more crazy things which I haven't even considered how I'm going to get into drawing them yet. Like I've read all the plot.
Yeah.
And there's some intimidating pages in there. So if you like the visuals that you see in the preview, it's only going to get more mental. And it gets more mental within the first issue. That's a promise. That's a Harry Hughes promise.
Yeah.
Issue 1, visuals, they're going to go off the chain. Issue 2, much the same. There's 4. Jesus.
4,
yeah, it goes off. It goes
3,
off hard.
Yeah. I will say this actually. So issue 3.
We haven't. We haven't even got to that. We've got to get issue 1 out.
But if you've asked us about the future of the story,
okay,
so
that's fair,
yeah. So
we'll tell people about things they might never get.
Basically, pledge to this project because what's coming is incredible.
Yeah.
But the third issue is an issue that when we first started out didn't exist. So we pitched to ourselves. We were sort of like, let's just do a 3-issue arc. Let's stick with that. And then there's a character that both Harry and I absolutely love in the story. She's just awesome. Really enjoy writing her, and she's effectively like the strong center of all these characters.
The moral compass. Yeah.
And
I think we both felt she didn't get enough spotlight through the original script, which was 3 issues long. So Nick wrote an entire issue for her.
Yes.
So the third part of the story is it's not removed from the general plot, but it is all about.
Yeah, I mean, like integral stuff happens in it, but very much is her issue and her sensibilities, and it's just. It took me a long time to crack it because I wanted to get it right, and so I went through a lot of variations of what it could be, and ultimately what it settled on is I just love it. I think it's really, really cool, and it changes the pace of things a little bit, which I really like.
Well, there's a lot that happens at that point as well, which we can't explain.
Yeah.
And I won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's issue 3 is like a big turning point for the tale. So if issue 1, if you enjoy everything that you're seeing about issue 1 from the Kickstarter campaign, and we've said already that if it does well, we'll look into obviously releasing the other parts of the tale, whether we do it as an issue at a time and then do a complete thing. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot to look forward to visually and in terms of the story. I think
it's all written.
Yeah,
like all the scripts are done. They're all locked, sorted.
Mm-hmm.
So we fully know the story inside and out. Hence us struggling to describe what comes because
unless we know it so well, we've forgotten.
Unless you want to turn this into an audiobook version of it, and I will just read panel by panel.
That should be one of the tiers.
Maybe it will.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point.
Maybe a stretch goal. We'll just do a cassette.
Maybe that's the surprise we were talking about. We've scheduled in some audiobook time. It's going to be Harry and I.
Yeah, we got Stephen Fry doing the audio. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, it will be enormous. It's the story definitely, as Harry said right at the start, it's character driven. It's always focused on all these characters and their relationships to each other, and it's just a lot of I was going to say heartache then, but it's
telling.
Maybe it is. Yeah, I'm going to end on that. I'm going to say there's a bit of heartache.
It's pretty real, isn't it?
Oh yes, real.
That's fair to say.
We're doing all these buzzwords tonight. So real and heartache.
Real heartache.
Yeah.
Misery. Malcontent.
Getting really heavy at the end here.
Yeah.
If you're a really miserable person, just pledge. Just do it.
Yeah. It's
Okay. Well, best of luck with it. I hope that you reach your goal. I hope that I get to find out what happens in this story and find out what the stretch goals are.
Yes.
I need to
We
know
hope
at this
so
point.
too.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more excited about the stretch goals currently than the actual pledging tiers.
Yeah.
Because I just want to say it, but I can't.
Yeah.
But it's a beauty.
Yeah.
Anyone who has an appreciation for art, and particularly notorious artists, that's fair.
That is fair.
Would be interested to know what this stretch goal is. The
Yeah.
first stretch goal. That I think I did that without being.
You did.
That wasn't too revealing, was it? That was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Well done.
notorious
Well done.
artists.
Yes.
There are many.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about this today. And
Thanks.
hopefully we'll follow up further down the line to find out how well the rest of it goes.
Yes. I really hope that we get to make it and that we can come back on and I can actually tell you why the ending of the first issue is my favorite thing.
Okay, yeah, you're coming back. You're coming back.
That's my hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my hope. Cool.
So thank you again to Nick and Harry for joining us today to tell us all about the Red Wave, and thank you to you for tuning in to this special edition of the Get Your Comic Con podcast. For all the latest news from the world of film, TV and comics, head over to our website, which is www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, and don't forget to check out our fortnightly-ish podcast available on all major platforms. Until next time, bye!